always tell people you have to eat the organic, wholesome foods, but, you also need to have high quality supplements. And it's always a discussion, do you really need supplements? I eat wholesome organic food. Well, there's 3 top reasons. Number one, if you go to the farmer's market or if you go to the local health food store or the organic section in your supermarket, you need to realize that even if you buy wholesome foods, there's a time that lapses between harvest and consumption. And during that time, many nutrients are lost. For example, if you store asparagus just for 1 week, 90% of the vitamin C is gone. You talked about an apple. If you pick an apple from a branch, 30 minutes later, 50% of the enzymes are gone, right? So that's reason number one. Reason number two, as you mentioned, after World War II, farmers started to use NPK fertilizer. That's only 3 minerals. Our body needs 70 to 90 minerals in order to function optimally. And number 3, we don't live in pristine areas anymore, right? We live in cities and towns. We have air pollution, water pollution. We have environmental toxins. We have the exhaust fumes from the vehicles. We have the chlorine fumes from our shower. We have our toxic cosmetic products in the house, cleaning products in the house, and then of course electromagnetic radiation, which is exponentially increasing. So all that stuff makes us that we are exposed to far more, and therefore we have to compensate far more as human beings than we have ever had to compensate for those toxins before. So those are the top 3 reasons. I'm not saying not to eat organic whole foods, but high quality supplements now become an insurance policy if you want to mitigate the damaging effects of toxemia.
Welcome to Far Out with Faust, everybody. I am Faust Chicho, and today I'm very excited to be joined by Mike Van Thielen, PhD. Let me tell you about Mike and what he's been up to. Mike's he's got his PhD in holistic nutrition. He's a doctor of Oriental medicine and a licensed physical therapist. He's a licensed acupuncture physician, and he has a BCS in professional health services, physical education. He's a hell of an entrepreneur. He's a philanthropist. He's also a world record holder in swimming, believe it or not. You should see what this dude looks like beneath his shirt, man. He's incredibly fit. Mike, thanks so much for beaming in, brother. It's so great to have you.
Welcome. It's a pleasure.
So full disclosure, Mike and I met a few weeks ago at the Biohacking Congress, and I heard Mike speak, and I've since read his book, and he's a wealth of information as far as, 2022, what you can be doing to generate a state of robust health in your body so that you don't have to worry, about quote germs,
sure,
pathogens, all these things that they make you think that you have to be on the constant, lookout for. It's just you don't need to live like that. You can live like this and stroll through anywhere and not worry. So that's why I wanted to have Mike on. Mike wrote a book called EMR, like The Invisible Threat. I don't know why I hold this thing up. My editor always puts the insert in, but electromagnetic radiation. And this book is awesome, guys. It's an easy read. It looks thick, but it reads quick. And it's not just about electromagnetic radiation. It's really about the state of health today. And it's about how Mike came to be the incredible biohacking machine that he is, and all the things he picked up along the way. So without further ado, I'm gonna let, I promise I'm gonna let Mike speak. Mike, talk to me a little bit about your journey, brother. Dude, I mean, it just blows my mind. You're still competing. You're still swimming, and you're still breaking records.
Well, you got to be a product of your product. Whatever you preach, you got to do, right? You can't be preaching weight loss if you're 300 pounds. You know what I'm saying? So, no, my journey, everybody can hear my accent. I'm originally from Belgium. I grew up over there. I know a lot of people don't know where Belgium is. I always say it's the size of the Everglades in Florida. A lot less alligators, but a lot more good beer and good chocolate. So in my 20s, I saved $400, packed my backpack, and came to live the American dream. And so it was a little bit of a rough ride because I didn't have any mentors or people to guide me. So when it comes to small business, I had to learn a lot of lessons. I got knocked down many times, but my motto quickly became, I never lose, I win, or I learn. And so, the last several years, obviously, I was able to surround myself with like-minded people and people that have different areas of expertise, because I believe now that you need those mentors in order to achieve your highest potential. And so today I'm at a point where I feel I can be that mentor for many people, to not only find their purpose in life or confirm their purpose in life, but also make sure they have a plan, a strategy, that they're relentless in achieving their goals and their dreams and their purpose in life, and coach them. So right now I do a lot of speaking, keynote speaking. That's how we met. And I have mentorship programs. So that's what I'm up to today.
Nice. So the bulk of your clientele, are they athletes? Is it more in the physical realm? Is it more like getting their SHIT together? I don't know why I'm spelling that out as if my kids are listening.
It's a little bit of both, but it's mostly people that finally realize that they need some guidance and help in order to regain control of their health. There's basically, from a health point of view, I categorize people in 3 stages. Number 1, and that's the majority, unfortunately, those are people that, are not healthy. They're in ill health. They either have a chronic pain condition or they are diagnosed with some type of a condition. They may be a few extra pounds overweight, and, they don't really have that vitality that they're looking for or that they once had. So that's stage number 1, is we need to regain control of our health. We need to seek balance in our body, and we need to resolve any pain or any medical condition. In other words, get back to quote unquote normal. The second step then would be, and that's where guys like you and other people fall in, is like, look, we're not really diagnosed with a medical condition. We're doing okay, but man, I need to be in optimal health. I need to be strong, fit, vital. I need to be in control of my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. So that's the guidance to optimal health. And that's where, a lot of your athletes fit in, obviously. But then the third step is the exciting step. Once you're in optimal health, that would be the ideal foundation or platform to benefit or to maximize the benefits of biohacking, because biohacking is the science of objectively reversing your biological age. So our goal, Faust, here is that 100 will be the new 30. Right. And so I see where people are, in what stage they are, and then we move them through those 3 stages, very customized, very individualized, make them accountable, and make sure they reach their goals. So most of my clients, I would say, are those that seeking to improve their health. There's also a fair amount of clients that need the guidance on the business or personal level, because on that level, again, I make sure that they're not distracted by projects that don't fit their dreams, that they have the right purpose in life, because many of those work or do things that really don't fit our dreams. So I'm going to make sure of that first. I'm going to upgrade their dreams and their purpose in life, think bigger than they think now. And then we, together we make a plan and a strategy and attack all obstacles, and I make them accountable and make sure it gets done. So those are my clients.
That's awesome. I love the sound of that. And I could, it's, if I was in a different situation, I would certainly be drawn to it. But I love how we have moved from, this notion of slowing down the aging process to realizing that it is 2022. And even with, the technology that is out in the public, domain, even with what we understand right now, we can do more than just slow aging down. We can begin to reverse the biological signs of aging on an epigenetic level. And people are like, well, so what? I get these comments all the time. Some prior guests, doing some, like having some quantum breakthroughs in the laboratory with stem cells and light and sound, and literally revitalizing and reversing aging. And people are like, yeah, but he still looks old. I'm like, yeah, but first of all, you don't know how old he is. Second of all, I saw this guy speak for 2.5 hours and then sing for 15 minutes straight. He did a perfect imitation of a humpback whale, which he had learned to do in Malibu. Dr. Todd Ovakayats, this guy he's a trip. He's
like a trip, yeah.
What a gift! But he flew to Maui because he was in meditation. He was guided. This is a doctor. This is, I mean, he was a physician. He worked in the emergency room, laboratory, you name it. But once he started getting spiritual, he really started to go deep, right? So he was guided to go to Maui and swim with the humpback whales to learn their song, because it's part of his stem cell research that he was doing with unlocking sound and using light. And this is what, so he was like, so I memorized a song. I had to learn how to free dive underwater. This dude's 70 years old. He had to learn to free dive underwater. And he was like, and it only works if you're upside down. That's what I learned. And I was like, what? What? So I was like, this guy, I don't care.
Yeah, that's not easy, but
No.
he's right, I mean, and you're right too. Science fiction really has become science fact today. And most people don't realize that even us, the common man, there's many technologies, strategies, and compounds available to objectively, and that's the key, objectively reverse our biological age, because we can measure it. Telomere length, epigenetic testing, gut biome testing. There's many tests that we can do before to set a baseline, then implement those strategies and see if they're actually working by retesting, right? And then there's a lot of people that are waiting for, the silver bullet or that magic pill that we all too want, because it's the easy way out. But Tesla said there's, people are waiting for that med bed, right? You heard about the med bed, but when you
what's the med bed?
The med bed is this.
Oh, the med bed, the med.
Yeah, yeah, where you lay in and it will repair and heal and anti-age you, right? Yeah. So until that day, I mean, we have all components, because the med bed's supposed to combine what? Frequency, energy, and vibration. So we don't have that in one device yet, but we have all three separately. So there's no reason we can do energy healing, frequency healing, and vibration healing, right? And that's what we're all doing. And the basics are obviously oxygen. We need to do things like hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which brings us beyond our genetic programming. Stem cells, you mentioned stem cells, same thing. Those are modalities or therapies that can bring us beyond our genetic programming. Water, ideally hydrogen infused, because that has many benefits. Light movement. So it's the basic things that we can use to upgrade our brain, our body, and our human life. And that's available to us right now.
That's right. It's available to us right now. And if you combine that with a little bit of conscious movement or stillness, I mean, you really are taking the bull by the horns. And I don't believe that there's anything that the human body is not capable of doing when it comes to healing itself. I mean, and I think that in time that will be accepted as fact, even scientific fact, because you can only deny what is evident right before, for so long. And I understand there's a lot of money in
scientific fact are common sense, because, for example, there's a simple law that says if you're dead, you can't act, meaning dead matter, such as a pharmaceutical pill or a desk. They can't act. They only can be acted upon, right? So when people say they take medication and it helps, I refute that, because something that's dead cannot act. It's your body acts upon it, right? So when you look at pharmaceutical drugs, most of the side effects are all the same. They are rashes, they are nausea, they are vomiting, and all those actions are attempts of the body to expel the toxins. That's what they really are. So that matter cannot act. Only the body can heal itself. So drugs don't cure, surgeries don't cure, food doesn't cure either. Supplements don't cure either. Our therapies don't cure either. Only the body can heal itself. But we need to put the body in the correct or in the right conditions so that it can do that. Right. And that's the task at hand that we have.
So in your book, you spoke a lot about toxemia. And this, I mean, this is today we're living with this. 80% of Americans, and I'm sure that's probably one of the highest numbers, if not the highest number in all quote civilized Western society, suffer from at least one chronic disease. That is a state of, I mean, talk about, that's a state of disease. That is a majority unhealthy pot. You would think that staggering statistic alone would be enough for people to unplug and just say, wait a minute, what are we learning about health? How did we as a population get so chronically diseased? I mean, this is a crisis, man. Everyone wants to talk about the sixth mass extinction or whatever number we're on. But we're part and parcel with that. What's happening right now, and particularly in America, with the way that we're poisoning ourselves in our country, and I mean the land and the people. It's bad, but people need to.
Well, it's simple. Yeah. It's addiction, right? What differs us from animals in the wild is our awareness, and our awareness gives us the power to choose our response. Right? So we have the freedom to choose our response. See, animals in the wild, they don't have that. They have an instinct. So they act according to the laws of Mother Nature, and they act in their best interest and in the best interest of their species. That's why they are in perfect health. Have you ever seen a lion, a giraffe, an antelope, or an eagle with COPD, with Alzheimer's, with type 2 diabetes, with cancer? No, they become prey of another species, or then die a natural death. Yeah. So we, on the other hand, we have the freedom to choose our response, and we have become slaves of choosing the wrong response over and over again, which has put us here in ill health. But unfortunately, we have that same awareness, that same power, that same freedom to choose our response, to stop that nonsense once and for all and choose health freedom and regain control of our health. We do have that power.
Yes, we absolutely do. And the health freedom movement that has come in the wake of the 2020 debacle is real, and it's gaining momentum and it's gaining power. And thank God, because it's, we're at a point now where, between the fertility crisis that is, quietly gripping most Western countries, and the what's going on with the food and the state of disease, it's just health freedom needs to be as big as it can be, and it needs to sweep across the land in much the same way one of these so-called pathogens does or has. I enjoyed your book so much, Mike, because you're very candid, and I think anybody, and this is an act of self-love, and this is what our society has gotten a little confused about. Whatever age you're at, you should be able to stand in the mirror, and you said this so well in your book, Mike. I mean, and honestly assess what you're looking at, and take responsibility for this is your body. This is what you're working with right now, right? Does it look like it's in optimal health? And what have you done up to this point to get it to where you are? And what can you do now to re-optimize this is the greatest technology on the planet that we are blessed with. We get to walk around with every day. There's nothing like it on the planet. And, it's just, I love how you say it in your book. You're just like, why not be honest, and take an assessment and look in the mirror. And it's not about shaming, and it's not about feeling bad about yourself. The good news is you're right there, and you can decide, you can choose to turn things around on any minute of any day. And I love that about what you wrote. It's so true.
Yeah, and a lot of people think like, oh, that's too much work, you're a health freak. Certainly, I'm not a health freak at all. And you don't have to be a health freak to be in optimal health. And the way I usually approach that is like, look at health from a cellular level. And it's very basic. So people, get this aha moment or this paradigm shift, because our body, you just mentioned, it's the most complex thing that we can think of. We can put a rocket on the moon. Supposedly, I'm not sure about that yet. We can control nuclear plants unless a natural disaster happens, but we're far from figuring out the human body. And that's because we have 75 trillion cells. And each one of those cells performs a few million chemical reactions per second. So if you want to know how many chemical reactions there occur in our body at any given second, we simply have to multiply 75 trillion with a few million. So next time somebody asks you, Faust, if you're busy, you simply answer yes, extremely, right?
Yeah.
But
got a lot going on right now, okay?
Yes.
You won't be lying.
Each and every one of those cells has 100,000 receptors on its outer membrane. And the RNA, or the messenger within that cell, constantly tells those receptors, hey, I need vitamin C, I need omega-3, whatever it is. So these receptors stick out their neck in the extracellular environment to look for those nutrients. But what if due to our SAD, standard American diet, those nutrients are not available? Then the cell in the body has to sell for less potent, incompatible nutrients. It's like having an original paper and making a copy and then making copies of the copy. After a few times, you can't read it anymore. It's the same with our cells in our body. So if we have incompatible, less potent nutrients, then we get two things, degeneration and mutation, which is disease and cancer. Now, when listeners follow that, you also can conclude that you don't have to be a health freak, because as long as you give your body all the essential nutrients they need on a daily basis, it's okay to have that taco on Tuesday or that beer on Friday or the pizza on Saturday. But the problem is 98% of us only eat the bad stuff. So now the body and the cells need to replace, replenish, renew, and repair themselves with incompatible nutrients. And that's where things go wrong. So just make sure you got all the nutrients that you need on a daily basis, and you will be just fine.
So the other problem, Mike, is, and you know as well as I do, is, we're genetically modifying the nutrients literally right out of the what is supposed to be the healthiest foods available on the market in the United States. You go and if I try to eat just a typical apple, all I taste is those chemicals now. I can't, since I've switched to eating, truly organic and, non-sprayed foods, the difference in taste it's like night and day. I can't even eat the other stuff now because I can taste it, which is weird. Well, because I didn't even know it was there before.
I always tell people you have to eat the organic, wholesome foods, but, you also need to have high quality supplements. And it's always a discussion, do you really need supplements? I eat wholesome organic food. Well, there's three top reasons. Number one, if you go to the farmer's market, or if you go to the local health food store or the organic section in your supermarket, you need to realize that even if you buy wholesome foods, there's a time that lapses between harvest and consumption. And during that time, many nutrients are lost. For example, if you store asparagus just for 1 week, 90% of the vitamin C is gone. You talked about an apple. If you pick an apple from a branch, 30 minutes later, 50% of the enzymes are gone, right? So that's reason number one. Reason number two, as you mentioned, after World War II, farmers started to use NPK fertilizer. That's only 3 minerals. Our body needs 70 to 90 minerals in order to function optimally. And number three, we don't live in pristine areas anymore, right? We live in cities and towns. We have air pollution, water pollution. We have environmental toxins. We have the exhaust fumes from the vehicles. We have the chlorine fumes from our shower. We have our toxic cosmetic products in the house, cleaning products in the house, and then of course electromagnetic radiation, which is exponentially increasing. So all that stuff makes us that we are exposed to far more, and therefore we have to compensate far more as human beings than we have ever had to compensate for those toxins before. So those are the top three reasons. I'm not saying not to eat organic whole foods, but high quality supplements now become an insurance policy if you want to mitigate the damaging effects of toxemia.
Yeah. And there are not many places you can live on the planet right now, literally, where you don't have to in some way mitigate for toxemia, because, they went as far north as you can and as far south as you can. And they tested the rainwater, they tested, and guess what? The chemicals that we are polluting the ground with, like glyphosate, like the forever chemicals, like from Teflon, PFAs, I don't know, they're always renaming them so they can keep poisoning us with them. But they're in the rainwater. So that means that Eskimo Joe, poor Joe, who has never seen a car, who's never seen a fertilizer plant, who's been living off the land, literally in a freaking igloo, the water that he's drinking is now contaminated because these chemicals are air solvent. And that means that they literally go into the ground, into the rivers, into the ocean, into the sky, into the clouds, and then they rain down on us. So that is the recipe that we're looking at. Why there's really no place to go. Yeah.
No, there isn't, but there's many things that we can do, like you said, to mitigate it. We got to be conscious and aware, right? Because maybe a lot of your listeners don't know what toxemia is, but literally it means toxins in the blood. But in more detail, what it really means is, as part of metabolism, as part of living, we have waste products, right? Catabolism in our body. But in a normally healthy human being, those waste products are eliminated from the body. Those toxins are eliminated, so no harm is done. However, today we are exposed to far more toxins through our man-made foods and drinks, through our electromagnetic radiation, which exponentially is increasing, pharmaceutical drugs, nothing but toxins, and environmental toxins that our body cannot keep up with the accumulation of the toxins or the elimination of toxins. And if the body can't keep up with eliminating, then they accumulate in our blood and our body. And that's exactly what toxemia is. But research shows clearly that those toxins in the body do two things. Number one, they steal electrons from healthy atoms, and those healthy atoms then become free radicals. Everybody heard about free radicals. They cause damage on a cellular and DNA level. And number two, our body is now in a constant state of emergency. And conventional medicine has a nice name for it. It's called systemic inflammation. And even conventional medicine now agrees that over 90% of all disease is directly related to the systemic inflammation. So this toxemia basically is the cause of all disease. So if there's only one cause of all disease, there's really only one solution. So the solution theoretically is pretty simple. Number one, we need to limit or eliminate or reduce as much as we can the exposure and intake of toxins, while simultaneously increasing the intake of nutrients that fight free radical damage, repair DNA, and fight systemic inflammation. And if we can control or keep toxemia in check, we cannot get diseased.
Right. Easier said than done, but
that's right. But that's why I have functional medicine doctors and mentors like me that can help people, find the right strategies. And that's why I'm, write books like this, because the last chapter of each of my books is basically a check of to-do list, which everybody at no or low cost can implement in their own home to protect themselves from most of these toxins.
Yes. And I want to get into a little bit, because I love your story about how you came into such high competition as a swimmer. Talk to me a little bit about how you learned how to optimize your own, techniques, stamina, everything. If you're competing in swimming, it's a lot like, it's like any other competition, but swimming is a level of exertion that is on the same page as, like, I think wrestling and fighting or martial arts.
Yeah, one time there was a large scale study done that compared the sports, and swimming and boxing were on the top of using all the muscles, having huge core strength and those types of things. So it's obviously up there when it comes to most taxing and most hours spent doing every day in order you want to reach the top. Right. So that's for sure. So I swam when I was actually started when I was 8 years old. The stories are also funny there because the school system is different in Belgium, but I was like 8 years old. Here it's elementary school, I guess. And of course, there's school sports. So I was part of the soccer teams, part of the basketball team. I was the fastest runner. I was a top athlete, as you can say, in elementary school. But there was one thing I lost, because one of my good friends was part of the local swim team. So he kicked my butt when it came to swimming, and I didn't like it. So I joined the swim team. So that's how I found my passion for swimming. So it's actually my worst sport, Faust.
That's great.
But then I swam competitively in Belgium till I was 24, and then I took a 22-year break, basically. And I was here, and I saw a friend of mine on Facebook that used to be a swimmer that actually swam a master Belgian record. I didn't even know it existed or what it was. So I said, look, I got to get back into shape. And I started to look at these Belgian records, and I said, wow. If I commit for 6 months, I think I can swim some. So swim a bunch of Belgian records. And I said, let's look at the American record, and swim the American record. Let's look at the world record. So we kept going. The thing that I had to learn is, obviously, I don't have the stamina or the endurance or the VO2 max that I had when I was in my 20s. Right. So I had to compensate other ways. When you're in your 20s, you're invincible, right? And you don't care about diet. Right. You don't care about strategy. You don't care about all those types of things. You just do. So obviously I had to compensate. So, I believe that in order to get your highest potential, you need to surround yourself with a team of experts. So in this case, I got a coach in the gym that had experience training top athletes like NASCAR drivers, college basketball players, NFL players, etc., to maximize my effectiveness in the gym. I had a swim coach that, had the credentials, but also knew about master swimming, which is a fancy word for all guys in the pool, right? And so I also had a mentor that prepared me mentally and taught me about visualization and manifesting. I had a functional medicine doctor that made sure my nutrient profiles were optimal, my hormones level, including testosterone, was optimal. I didn't have to hire a nutritionist because I have a PhD in nutrition myself, but I did follow the expert biohackers in the industry because maybe they had something that could help me increase my performance. So, for example, I added L-carnosine to my regimen of supplements because I learned that carnosine helps mitigate or reduce lactic acid in the muscles. I started to do PEMF between workouts, pulse electromagnetic frequencies. In this case, it was a beamer, which you probably heard of, to recover faster. And so, I incorporated all those things to compensate for the lack of, endurance that I had when I was in my 20s. Although there's benefits too. I think I was 48 when I swam the world record. I'm 51 now. But when I was 48, I'm pretty sure I was stronger than my own version in my 20s, right? So therefore, I choose the shorter distances, the sprint, right? I upgraded my diet. I upgraded my supplements. So that's what biohacking is, right? So I just started training again for the World Championships in Japan in August of 2022. It's only 10 months away. I don't know if I'm going to get ready, but every other competitor, they swim every day. I can't do that. I swim 3 times a week. So how do I compensate? Well, I need to biohack, which means is I'm going to compete in the 50 plus, but I need to make sure my body's only 42 and therefore I have a chance of winning.
Yes, I understand. I love that. Look, you work smarter as you get older. You don't necessarily have to work harder. There's gold in that saying.
It takes both. Yeah,
that's right. It does. It takes both. And I see a lot of, as someone who recreationally boxes and is constantly learning and, and then when I'm sparring, I'm not sparring another 40-year-old. I'm usually sparring a pretty young guy.
Yeah.
So it's always, a fascinating challenge to be able to move with them and to use your age as an advantage and find ways to be smarter.
Exactly.
It's a wonderful thing, but you talk a lot about your book, and we've been talking a lot about optimizing immunity. Optimizing health is optimizing immunity, and how, we all know about some of the dangers that are lurking in our consumerist society. And if you have any, idea about unless you're literally I worry a little bit about the new generation, because there's no sense of history, of understanding of how long the things that have been going on, since doctors were smoking cigarettes and telling everyone how healthy they are. And, this notion and this policy we've adopted of putting profits over people at every turn and over health at every turn. I worry that the younger generations are just not, by the time they realize it, it's going to be too late for them. But it's rampant. It's been rampant. It hasn't changed. They've gotten better at hiding it. One of the things that I read in your book that I was like, holy, I didn't even, the fact that the electron microscope shoots the virus into pieces, and that every depiction of an actual virus is truly just that. It's more of an illustration. We don't actually have a true picture of a virus.
No human being ever has seen a virus, right? And that's because it's so small that with a light microscope we can't see it. An electron microscope just shoots us in pieces. So I tell people, you don't have to believe me, just Google virus and click on images, and all you're going to see is graphics. It's something that we have drawn. There is no pictures. So it starts with an assumption. Then we got to put the pieces together, which is another assumption. And the assumptions keep on going. And so a virus is almost, something that we have to explain something that we can't explain, right?
I see.
Because it all started that way. It was a diseased plant that they were studying. And they said, well, it's not bacterial, it's not this, it's not that, so it must be, let's call it a virus, right?
Yeah.
But later on, they figured out, after they call it a virus, that it wasn't the virus or whatever a virus may be caused the disease in the plant. It was a nutrient deficiency, right? But the name virus was born, right? But whatever the pathogen is, fact remains is that when we are a living organism, any pathogen should not have any or not be able to cause any havoc inside a living organism. That's why animals in the wild don't get sick. They make the right choices. Bacteria only turn us back to dust when we're dead, right? That's why you don't see millions of carcasses in the woods, because what happened to animals that die a few days later, they turn back to dust, because that's what bacteria do. But why don't they do that with animals that are alive? Because they can't. Their immune system kills them before they even get into their mouth, their nose, etc. Right? So why are viruses, bacteria, pathogens, whatever you want to call them, why can they cause illness in humans? Because we're in ill health. Our immune system is not functioning optimally. We're making the wrong choices. And, when we go to doctors, they have these tests, blood tests and ranges, which are man-made up ranges, right? Yeah. And when you fall in there, you're supposedly normal. Well, you're not normal. You're near death. You're barely arrived. That's what the ranges are. Because those were developed in America. They were developed for during World War II to see on how we could ration our soldiers and make sure they have the absolute minimum amount of nutrients to survive in the war. And that they were adopted by the AMA. So when you do a blood test and your vitamin B12 falls in the range, that means you got barely enough to stay alive. So that's not where we want to be. And that's why we are very, very vulnerable as a human species, because 90% of us are in very ill health and even susceptible to, a beast that's out there that is so small we can't see it and we can't defeat it, because that's in how much poor health that we are, right? So it's just about regaining control of your health and making sure you have an optimal immune system. And when you have that, it doesn't matter if they put me in a room with 20 for 24 hours and lock the door, I'll never get it.
No, I know. I try to communicate this to people, but when now they're listening a little bit, but when they're in fear, they can't.
Well, the propaganda instills fear, and that's a powerful weapon.
And they know that keeps people from thinking. They've been using it for so long. But and it's true. I mean, like you can go on, you can find videos of Wim Hof, and he's
a Dutch guy.
Incredible human. His breathing techniques have saved lives. People, I know people who have reversed, quote, irreversible conditions using his breathing techniques and using his ice baths, the ice bath that he has kind of brought into mainstream. What a gift to society that he has come into enough fame to where, a lot of people are and the health benefits are phenomenal. I just started using it myself. I need to be more consistent with it, but now that it's getting cold, it's harder,
Oh, it is. What degrees are you right now?
Well, today it was like 30. It's like 34. I recently moved to Georgia, but it's been warmer here in general. It's not like New York where I was.
I know, but your ice bath, what temperature is that?
The temperature. So I try to get it down in the 30s, but the first two times I used it, it was in the 40s, and even that was shockingly cold.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I used
you should start in the 50s and every week go to 2-3 degrees lower. That's
okay. So that's good to know.
Do it healthy. And you should, if you go in your 30s, make sure there's somebody there. You could go in hypothermia and it wouldn't be a good thing. So you want to do it, not by yourself.
Of course. Yeah. No. So the first time I did it, the temperature was 34 degrees and I just did 2 minutes. And that was shocking, but I did it. I did good.
The shock, that's the idea. It's a reset of your body and all your systems.
Yeah. I didn't realize it. It's funny. You're like, I got this, and then you get in, of course, your body's, it goes into a complete upheaval. Your body's like, well, yeah, we're dying, so you have to, by overriding that response, it's really, the effects are great for the body, but they're also good for the mind.
Yes.
There's the ice bath, but yeah, so I have to, I have an ice barrel, right? Cause I'm renting this place where I'm at now. And so I don't have a permanent thing yet, but I still got to like haul the ice and plug it in. I know some people.
It's a lot of work. I just got a chest freezer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I just fill it up 3/4 with water, and then I have a little thing that keeps the temperature so it doesn't freeze, and I can kind of regulate the temperature. And that's an easy way to do, or a cheaper way to do it, because those ice commercial ones cost a lot of money, a few $1,000s. Yeah. So for everybody listening, just get a used chest freezer for $200, and then you just got to buy, something that regulates the temperature in between the freezer, which is probably about $100. For $300, you're set.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Then you have what you need. Yeah, the thing about having to put ice in it every time is ice is not cheap.
No, it adds up too. You're going to spend hundreds of dollars that way too. Yeah.
I mean, like literally, I'm like, I came back. I was like, she's like, how much money? I was like, it was like $87. I had to get.
They think you have parties every night, man.
$150 worth of ice. 150 pounds. It's crazy. People don't realize the amount of assumptions that our quote healthcare is actually based on. And you talk a lot about that in your book too, which is another reason why I highly recommend it. It really breaks things down. The inconsistencies that we're kind of just taught to believe and accept, about things like, of course you were told that, viruses come in all different sizes and shapes. And yet none of them are big enough for anyone to see. That's one thing they all have in common.
Their argument is they puzzle the pieces together. That's their argument.
Yeah, they puzzle the pieces together. I don't trust their final puzzle. You
shouldn't.
But like the flu comes back every year. But so it must mutate. You talk about this, but the measles virus is what? Stable, because you're supposed to only be able to have that once in your lifetime.
Yeah, all the science is based on their conveniences, right? So then they invent incubation periods, because somebody must have infected you, and because it doesn't make sense in the classroom, now we got to invent something that's called incubation period, which means that you got infected, but the virus is going to just wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks before it's going to do something to fit the narrative. Yeah,
right. So
it makes sense, right?
What I'm trying to figure out, so what is actually happening is the body is exposed. If you're living on Earth, you're exposed to most of these things that happen, right? And then, and I'm obviously not talking about something as incredibly dangerous as Ebola, right? But I'm talking about viruses that people get that are quite common. 1 in 3 people have it, 1 in 4 people have it or will get it. Those viruses are in the body, and at a given time that is obviously, the body has chosen to go into this state for its own reasons, which people need to understand that the body only knows how to try to get healthy. It's not like, oh, well, I'm sick now, so let me make my nose run. No, the body is trying to get healthy. That's the only thing it knows how to do. That's its programming is for health.
Well,
not
yes,
for sickness.
When people talk about the immune system, most people use that word, but they don't know what the immune system is, because it's not like an organ. There's the heart. We can see it. We can take it out. We can replace it. The immune system is not such an organ. It's a system. And the system consists of your lymphatic system, your spleen, your white blood cells, your gut, which is 60 to 80% of your immune system, etc. So it's a system. But you have 2 systems that actually work in synergy. The number 1 is your innate immune system, which is your cell-mediated immune system, which is basically your general immune system, meaning like we are exposed to a new antigen, which could be a bacteria or a pathogen, right? And the body's never been exposed to it. So we have general weapons against it, such as your tonsils, your skin. Your skin has billions of T cells, which are your soldiers, and those types of things, right? So that's what we have as a general. And so that's when we get what we call sick, because your body needs 7 to 10 days to fight that pathogen. Mm-hmm. And once the 7 to 10 days of being quote unquote sick is over, then your body identifies a protein specific to that antigen, all right, and creates an antibody, right? Mm-hmm. So the next time that same pathogen enters the body, it skips the cell-mediated system, quote-unquote, being sick, and it neutralizes it immediately because the B lymphocytes recognize it, and it's your satellite in your body. Oh, they're there, and then the T cells go there, the soldiers, and kill it, right? So those are the two systems that work in synergy. So the more viruses and the more pathogens you're exposed to as a child, the better, because the more antibodies you have against everything. There's many long-term studies now out that compare kids growing up on a farm versus kids in the city, and the kids in the farm are much stronger human beings with a much stronger immune system, right? And so what our attempt to do is to bypass immediately that cell-mediated system, right? But what that means is when you get the right, it's not going to last, because next time it comes in, your body didn't make that antibody. So that's why we need. Now, if you actually were exposed to it and your body fought it and neutralized it, and you were sick for 7 to 10 days,
right?
You are immune for life, and you don't need, because these bypass a natural system and screw up your immune system, and therefore you need the flu shot every year, et cetera, right? Yeah. And that's also contributing to the rise of what? Autoimmune diseases.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Because you are putting those antibodies in your body doesn't recognize them, so it's going to attack your own body. And that is the definition of an autoimmune disease.
And they're rampant, and they're growing. They grow even faster than the mandated schedule that the put forth on everyone. That's the only thing thriving right now is as far as the health of Americans. The only list that gets bigger is the amount of diseases, the amount of and cancers and allergies, and just new ways to be sick. It's just we just keep finding them, right? And it's like, oh, because the science is better. They were always there. I'm like, no, that's not true. That's fucking hogwash. It's not because the science is better. It's because there's literally more disease, because there's more ways to die, But
it all could easily prevent it if the doctors knew what they were doing, if they were educated in health, right? An example I always give my mentees is, look, you end up in your 20s or 30s with heartburn or acid reflux. So the doctor's going to give you the Nexium pill, the purple pill, right? But it's masking the symptoms. Nobody asks, why do you have heartburn? Why is there acid reflux?
What do you eat?
And so now you're taking that purple pill for a decade, and suddenly you have problems again. You go to the doctor, stomach ulcers. You have stomach ulcers. Let's cut them out. So you cut them out. But you keep doing what you're doing. So the pathology continues to evolve, and now you end up with stomach cancer, right? A few decades later. It could be easily being solved. When you first went to the doctor and said, why is there acid reflux? Well, because most of the time, there's indigestive problems. There's food combination problems. This is the most common one. I mean, there's other causes, but we're combining foods. For example, we're combining proteins with carbs. It's your spaghetti with meatballs, or your sandwich with your meat sandwich, right? Or your steak with your mashed potatoes or your fries. So our body's not designed to deal with that, because the acidity in your stomach to break down proteins is different than breaking down carbs. Your enzymes are different. For proteins, we need pepsin. For carbohydrates, we need amylase. So when we eat them together, your body doesn't know what to do. So it's going to make an executive decision. It's going to say, look, let's get the proteins digested first, but it takes 4 to 6 hours. Meanwhile, the carbs are sitting there fermenting, meaning generating toxins. So what happens? Heartburn, indigestion, irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut syndrome. That's all it. But if we would have told that person in his 20s, 20s or 30s that came to the doctor with heartburn acid reflux. Hey, stop combining these types of foods. Well, look at animals in the wild. They don't combine foods, right?
No, you
they don't go pick
don't
some
see them
and
walking around with
and
heartburn.
mix it up. So that's those stomach ulcers and stomach cancer easily could have prevented 20, 30 years ago. And therefore, I always say, you know, when they do an autopsy, he died of cancer or heart disease. That's BS, right? That was the last symptom. Right. It wasn't the cause. The cause was decades of bad lifestyle habits. The cause wasn't a heart attack. That was the last symptom. Cancer wasn't the cause of death. That was the last symptom.
It's so true.
We got to prevent it and stop it, which we can, but we're always just masking symptoms versus asking what's causing this.
Right. Well, that's the system in place. That's why it's.
Well, you got to be customers for life, right?
That's right.
You can't have a solution.
They're really not interested. You know, the Flexner report, people don't even know what that is. People don't understand that is a piece of propaganda that came out of the Rockefellers that basically destroyed and made widespread the persecution of use of natural remedies. Right? Why? Because you can't patent a natural remedy. If something is found to work that can cure, let's say, a headache, I don't know, let's just use that for example. What happens to the multi-billion-dollar industry that is headache medicine, Tylenol, Advil, ibuprofen? Well, if there's a simple remedy that you can go down to the grocery store and make, why would you spend money on the other things? They can't patent those things. So they have done a really good job of weeding them out of the knowledge of society and making sure that if it is there, then they've created a fake version of it and they're selling it to you.
But you know what the irony in that is, right?
What's that?
The irony is that when they prevent us using those things from Mother Nature, as you said, but every drug is based on a discovery or the old wives' tales or a Chinese, herbal medicine, because they are looking for, okay, what is the active compound in this plant that makes this happen or that cures this or helps with this? Then they find the active compound in the plant or in the herb or in the tree or whatever. Then they're trying to make a fake copy, a synthetic copy in the laboratory. And that becomes their medicine they can patent, as you said. The problem is because you isolate it, you have all these adverse reactions and adverse effects, which you wouldn't have with the whole plant or the herb, right?
Right.
So for every drug, there's obviously the original copy in Mother Nature, and we can find it for every drug.
That's right.
I've never took one in my whole life. I don't have health insurance either because according to American statistics, is the number 3 cause of death is going to a doctor. Why would you pay to go there? It doesn't make any sense.
You don't have to tell me. I know, but no. For everyone listening, it does. It's the third leading cause of death. They love, and that is, there's a lot of people who say that statistic is, if you talk about underreported or underrated.
Of course,
if you think theirs is bad, that's true. I mean, that is something that would be next to impossible to quantify. If you just cast your imagination out and think about, okay, this, how many people are truly at the end game of, like you said, so many things that have gone wrong, that the 12 pills that they're taking, and so then they have the stroke, then they have the, the heart attack, or they get the diagnosis, but it is the medical mistreatment and lack of actual health solutions that have been part of their life for 20 years that has brought them to that death. So that's you could chalk that up. It should be chalked up anyway as part of those statistics.
Well, like last week, somebody challenged me and said, well, you're doing all this biohacking, you're taking vitamin C and D and this, and how do you know how to interact with each other? Well, I really don't, right? I assume it's synergistic because I'll take natural stuff, and that's what Mother Nature is. It's synergistically. However, but I said, you coming from a conventional medicine point of view, I said, you supposedly have research on each drug, but when I see patients, this one's on 12 medications, that's on 20. Show me one research that took, for example, an antidepressant like Zoloft, a pain medication like oxycodone, and then a heart medication like Coumadin, and show me one of those.
Yeah, show me the studies, the
of
safety
drugs.
studies.
They don't exist. Yeah, but yet everybody prescribes patients 10, 12. I have seen patients with a whole list, and then they turn the page around with medications. Right. The doctors don't communicate with each other. Nobody knows how they interact with each other. No. But yet I can't combine vitamin C with D because there's no research.
no, they'll shut you down, man. They'll come after you.
Even if it doesn't work, guess what? There's no side effects.
That's right, because it's natural. They're doing that right now with they see the inevitable rise of psilocybin and some of the active ingredients in what is kind of the pop culture name is magic mushrooms. There's a lot of different species that act like that. So what are the pharmaceutical companies doing? They've created exactly what you said. They've created a synthetic, molecule, chemical, whatever, of it, and so they're moving to patent it. So they're one offering.
There's your smart drugs like your Adderall and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Fake copies of your mushrooms and your natural nootropics.
Right. And so whenever the pharmaceutical companies get involved, you should just rest assured that there's a nefarious plan at work, and your health has nothing to do with it. That's what I would say. But anyway, so the other big thing that you lay this out in your book is, so EMFs, we get into these abbreviations. I think most people know EMFs. Most people know what ER is. What can people do? So we live in a life where most people, men, have their cell phones in their pockets. Up until about 6 months ago, I realized, and it was a random thought that I had, that I'd been keeping my phone in my pocket, and my hip was a little sore from running and boxing, and my phone was there, and I just was like, you know what? I don't trust this phone. I felt something in me felt like the phone was keeping that part of my body from recovering as fast as the rest of it. And I just had that thought, and ever since then I haven't been keeping my phone on my body anymore. That's a little thing I think people can do. Because then I came to this where I met you, the Biohacking Congress, and a lot of the advice was like, don't keep your damn phone on you. The thing is, especially if you constantly if it's not on airplane mode, it's getting and sending signals. So I wanted to see if you would to give people a little practical advice about the things they can do to protect themselves, because we are being bombarded.
Yeah, and that's the book. That's what the book is about. It's got hundreds of different tips and strategies that we can implement to mitigate the effects, and the phone is obviously a big one. The first thing that we need to do, and those are basically 4 steps, and you should implement them, one by one, because that would be the best effect. But the first thing we got to do is mitigate those effects inside our own home, right? So the first thing we can do is we can buy an EMF meter. On my website, you have a resource page with all the resources for free when it comes to EMF, which meter to buy or what to do. So go to biohackingunlimited.com, go to the resources page, and there's many free resources when it comes to how to do this. But with a meter, you can meet where your magnetic hotspots are. And so when you have hotspots in your house, you don't want to put your bed there, or you don't want to put your pets there, or you want to avoid those spaces. That's number one. Number 2, everything that's wireless, we got to start plugging back in. There's no reason to have your computer wireless if you can plug it into the outlet with a grounded, shielded power cord. Again, when we don't need the wireless in the house, turn the Bluetooth off. So many things we can do inside of the house.
Is it Bluetooth and Wi-Fi? Is it both?
Yes. Okay. Again, even if it's not in use, if it's on, it will continue to send signals, right?
Okay.
For your Wi-Fi router, for example, there's something called a Faraday bag. It's a bag you can purchase and put the router in there, so it's still functional, but the radiation is stopped from emitting. So again, this is just like 2 or 3 things. Don't buy smart appliances. Try to limit your Bluetooth and anything wireless inside the house. Number 2. protecting yourself from outside radiation, which is your neighbor's Wi-Fi, because we usually can pick up on that, but it's password protected, so we can't sneak in, right? But you got your power lines, whether they're above ground or underground. You got your smart meters that the city puts on your house. So there's many things we can do to protect us from that. Number 3 is shield yourself from it. And that's when we get to certain gadgets that may or may not work. Now, if you have an EMF meter, like I do, you don't have to worry about, propaganda or marketing. You just have it with you. You measure it and see if it kind of gets rid of the radiation or not, right? So I've been sleeping on what we call an anti-aging bed cover, put over my bed. So 7-8 hours of my life I spent on this silver nano threaded technology bed cover that is grounded. And when it's grounded, it closes the loop. And so the electromagnetic radiation goes into Mother Earth and doesn't sit in me. So I'm actually shielded 7-8 hours from any electromagnetic radiation. Meanwhile, I get fed negative ions, which neutralize free radicals. All right. So I sleep on that. Now, that same fabric can be used to put in your office chair, put in your couch, put in the bed of your pets, because they're exposed to the same diseases. Some people go a step further. I don't, but you can line your curtains with it. You can, make clothing with it and those types of things. So there are things that you can do. The other thing you can do is what you mentioned, your phone. There's many, many things in my book that you can do, but yes, your phone is the inverse law of Newton. The further it's away from you, the less radiation, right? So try to always use it on speaker. If you don't use it, put it on airplane mode. If you are moving, like driving or walking, you shouldn't be talking on your phone, or you should stop. And it has to do with the fact if you move, then there has to be a reconnection every fraction of a second with the tower. So it's exponentially more radiation. If you have low bars or low reception, like 1 bar versus 4 bars, it's going to be exponentially more radiation, because if you have low connection, it's going to send a much stronger signal to you.
Oh, wow.
Most of us are keeping the phone next to our bed charging. Don't charge it somewhere else. And if you charge it, don't charge it Bluetooth, plug it in. Many, many, many tips that we can incorporate, not to get rid of it, because we love the convenience of the technology, but we need to start getting more and more aware of the harmful effects at the same time and mitigate those. And so that's the phone, that's your computer. We can do many things to neutralize it. And then step number 4, again, we can't mitigate all of it, so there will be some DNA damage. And so step number 4 is, what can we do to repair our DNA? And that's a whole chapter in the book, because most people don't know that we have an innate DNA repair system. Our body is meant to repair any damaged DNA. The system is called the ARTD1 system. It consists of 17 enzymes that basically are, signaling molecules. And when there's and sensors. So when there's DNA damage, they go to the site. They basically, start granulating and, building a new matrix of the DNA and repairing it. That's what this system does. The problem is that in 90% of us, the system doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work is because it requires fuel. And the fuel for our DNA repair system is NAD+, right? Most of your listeners may have heard of NAD+. And so we need to now make sure that we have ample amount of NAD+ in the body. How do we do that? We can take a supplement. We can do regular IVs. We also can make sure we have the precursors in our body, which are tryptophan, but mostly niacin. We need to make sure we have a low EMR lifestyle, and we need to make sure we don't eat too close to going to bed, because it also depletes NAD+. So again, many strategies and tips that we can implement to make sure we have enough NAD+. If we have enough NAD+, our body itself will repair the DNA. So those are the 4 steps that we can implement to mitigate the damaging effects of electromagnetic radiation.
Those are very helpful and awesome. And I didn't know that some of those things. So that's really great information to have. Thank you for sharing that with me and my listeners. It's fantastic. Man, it's a crazy time we're living in, but I thank God for people like you who are helping share the culmination of their journeys of what they've learned and what they know works, and who are and I'm grateful to be a platform for that, to help people, because it's not just one thing, and people need to realize this. people are like, oh, well, what food should I eat? What's the, there's no one magic vegetable. There is no one single supplement, right? It's if it takes 1,001 things to make us have this chronic inflammation or develop it, then you could probably make a decent wager that it should probably take 1,001 things to get us into a state of robust health. And it's every little thing that you do that adds up. And that's why I think some people who, they change one thing and then but nothing changes in their life. They don't feel different. They're like, well, I'm eating vegetables now. And I'm like, that's fantastic. But, when's the last time you exercised? When's the last time you did something, that was spiritually healthy, emotionally healthy? Like you can add broccoli to your diet all day, but that's not going to turn the tide of 40 years of misuse. You know what I'm saying?
Well, everybody is different, right? So I always go back to that same toxemia. Where are you? What makes the bucket overflow? So you may not have to do the 1,001 things. You may have to reverse to back where the bucket doesn't overflow. But you also got to realize that we're exposed to more and more and more. And aging is not linear. We have it in our mind that aging is linear. No, aging is exponential. So when you come to that 40, 50, it doesn't go linear. When certain things break down, it has a cascading effect. So anti-aging needs to be exponentially too. If you implement strategies that are linear because your aging is linear, you're never going to get ahead of the game. You need to implement these strategies exponentially also.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I recommend Mike's book very much. It's called the EMR. Mike, you got more than one book out, don't you?
Yes, 7 or 8. My next one's coming out hopefully by the end of this year. That's more about the key to success is the title of the upcoming book. It's about maximizing productivity, focus, freeing up valuable time, and living stress-free. So it's not 100% about health, but it's about strategies, organizing, purpose of life, how to optimize your 5 intelligence hormones in your brains, be in the zone, being focused, get things done. Because in our society, we have a dopamine overload, mostly because of the bad foods, the sugar, the energy drinks, but also the social media. Social media causes a dopamine overload, which causes then brain fog. We can't focus, we can't pay attention. And so not only our younger generation, but also many of us are seeking that dopamine reward effect when we're on social media. And so it takes away from focus, attention, productivity. And so that's what the book is about, and how we can implement tips and strategies and taking certain nootropics to get back on track and achieve our goals and our dreams.
It's fantastic.
So look out for that one.
I will. I definitely will. We're going to include a bunch of links to all your websites and in the video description. And I just enjoyed hearing you talk so much, and you have so much to offer. I was excited to have you on. I'm glad we found time to make it work. I love asking this guy. Everyone, I think, who's come into wisdom has something profound to share. That is a subjective term because everybody hears something differently at different times of their life. But sometimes we hear something at the right time and it changes everything. It's something that can be easily implemented, right? So I talk about programming on my show a lot, and how, we know that human beings are very programmable. Unfortunately, so does the government, but it's a fact of life. You're raised wherever you're raised and by whom. That's going to be some of the that's your programming. You're stuck with that until you can figure out how to rewrite your software. Yeah, rewire your software.
Rewire your brain.
So I wanted to give you an opportunity, Mike. If one of the things I'm trying to do with this show, and what I love about this is, I know consciousness is connected, and that we are collectively, operating this planet and navigating this life together. And so I know how ideas can spread, even though only some people hear them. They're still in the ether, so to speak. They're still possible to reach the other side of the planet. It just may come as a thought, right? And I wanted to give you an opportunity, if you could, give people just a few different sentences or a mantra or some code to live by. So some of what you have come to understand that maybe you wish someone told you when you were younger, what would you tell them?
Well, not again. I didn't have much of the mentors, but I think the message that I'm trying to give lately is like, because I'm talking about biohacking and regain control of your health. But if we take it a step further, and I tell people always this, like, if you would have to do a TED talk, right, and you had 15 minutes. What would the topics be? Give me 3 and write them down. And they'll put some topics down, but basically, or most of the time, those topics are related to your credentials, which in my case is health, right?
Mm-hmm.
And are related, or they're brain related, meaning like, what can I talk about that benefits me in the end? Even though I may be passionate about it, how does it make me money, right? Mm-hmm. Then the second part of the exercise I tell people to do is, okay, now close your eyes. You're standing on top of a mountain, right? And it's beautiful, and you're looking around, and certainly people are approaching the base of the mountain, and they're sitting down and looking up at you. And at one point, 8 billion people are sitting at the base of the mountain, quiet, looking at you. And now you have 10 minutes to convey one message only. What will that message be? And when you start thinking about that, it usually doesn't align with those 3 topics at the TEDx talk, because this more comes from the heart. Yeah. Right. And even though the message you want to deliver, maybe you can't deliver today because you're not an expert, that's your purpose in life. That's your passion. Because don't ask which topic is the best, or which one would make you the most money, or things like that. Is which one of those topics elicits fire in your stomach and makes you passionate. And that's your purpose in life. Because like last week, I had a podcast and there were 30 high school students live. And so it was kind of the same thing. It's like, look, like you said, we're programmed, right? By our society, by our parents. And so your dad says, oh, you need to go to law school because he's a lawyer. Your mom says you need to become a doctor because she failed law school and she wants to live vicariously through you, right? And your teachers push you a certain direction because it's public school. So they're propaganda and brainwashing you. So people push in a direction, or they say, oh, you need to go to college because otherwise you can't provide for your family. You need a decent job. And so we follow. So what I'm telling people is, look, stop listening to them, sit down and figure out what is your purpose in life. Who do you want to be? What was the superpower that you dreamed about when you were a kid? Yeah. What were the dreams about who you wanted to be? And at that time, you believed without any doubt in your mind that you could be that person, right? Until somebody told you it's impossible. And that's when most of us settle for ordinary. Mm-hmm. But it's time to go back to those dreams and figure out, who do you want to be? What are the values? What are the morals? What do you want to accomplish in life? And start focusing on that, and surround yourself with the people that support that and the experts that can make that come true to your highest potential. So first you need that decision. What's your purpose in life? What's your dream? Then you do need to make a plan strategy. Without one, nothing will come to fruition. And that plan includes, what people do you need to make this happen? And then you got to attack the obstacles. But now it's easy, right? Because you have the end in mind. You have your dream in mind. Mm-hmm. So it's like 110 meters hurdles on the track and field. The finish line is there. You can see it. So those hurdles don't matter. You just attack them and take them. If you don't have that end in mind, and there's like, oh, it's not meant to be. Oh, I can't do this. Any excuse not to take the hurdle, right? Right. So that's what people need to do, is sit down and reevaluate the purpose of life, or find out what the purpose is. And then things like depression, anxiety, all those things will go away. Because once you have control over your life, once you have a scripted life, once you have a plan, there is no worry, there is no fear of the unknown. You know exactly what path you're on. There is no reason to be anxious. There is no reason to be depressed. Most people are depressed and anxious because they have no purpose in life. They don't know what's going to be thrown at them. And they don't know what they're doing. They don't know where life's going to go. Script your life like you would script a book, script a movie. Mm-hmm. Know who's going to be in the book and in the movie. Yeah. Edit out people that are useless. Write the book the way you want it to be. Write the ending the way you want it to end, and go for it. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, I love that. That's so true, man. And you can write a fantastic story, and the details don't have to be perfect. You can still.
It's just what? It's not, the details don't have to be there yet. They will come as you keep writing.
You'll be shocked at how they come. If you keep creating, and the details are going to fill themselves in a way that you never could have imagined. Let the details surprise you. That's why I always tell people, don't get attached.
Put it out there, and the resources come.
They do. It's just like anybody who's dove down a rabbit hole, without their hands out, knows that after you get down there and you come out, guess what keeps coming? More information about that subject. It just starts coming from everywhere. It's the same thing. That's how the universe works. It's always bringing you what you're looking for. You just have to be clear about what that is. So, Mike, this has been awesome, man. Really incredible. I'm so thankful for your time. I'm looking forward to your next book, and I'm going to go back and retro and check out the ones that I missed before this one. And I'll be in touch with you soon about when we're going to premiere this and all that.
Sounds good. Thanks, Faust. Appreciate your time.
Thanks,
too.
Mike. You take care. Good luck with competition in Japan and the new book and everything.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks, brother. Take care.